I've just kicked the whole stack of books over.
Okay.
It's not that bad. Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is going to be my first book video of 2018, and I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in October, November and December. When I've filmed these videos in the past, I've sometimes had over 50 books to talk to you about, but today I've only got just over 20. The main reason that I read less during these 3 months is that during November I completed NaNoWriMo. Because I was writing every day in November, it meant that I only got to read 2 books. So that is why there are less books for me to talk about in this video, but I did vlog every single day during NaNoWriMo, so if you want to watch any of my 4 weekly vlogs, then I'll leave a link in the description box for you. So let's get talking about the books that I did read. The first book that I read in October was To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. This is a book that I've been meaning to pick up for ages, and I'm so glad that I finally did. I loved the characters, especially Peter and Josh. They were absolutely brilliant. I loved the relationship between the girls as well. It was just a really fun read, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I read was actually one that I listened to on audiobook, and that is By Your Side by Casey West. This is another book that I've been wanting to read for ages since it came out last February, but unfortunately I was unable to find it here in the UK. So I downloaded it on audiobook instead, and I'm so glad that I did. I absolutely loved this story. It was perfect to listen to on audiobook, and I gave it 5 stars. Then I listened to another audiobook, and that is They Both Die at the End by SILVERA. This was another story that was great to listen to. I love Adam's writing, and I just loved the concept of this story. It was really unique, and I gave it 5 stars. I then completed a reread of The Perks of Being a Wallflower for my Foyles YA book club. I have to say that I actually think I enjoyed reading this book more the second time around. I took in more of the details and just enjoyed it a bit more, and I gave it 4 stars. Then I picked up 36 Questions That Changed My Mind About You by Vicky Grant. I've already done a video review for this book on my YouTube channel, so I'll leave a link in the description box for you, but I will say that I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read was An Ember in the Ashes, and it took me absolutely ages to read this book. I just happened to pick this book up at a time where I was becoming really busy, so I didn't have enough time to sit down and read a lot of it all at once, but I did really enjoy it and I can't wait to read the next book. I gave it 4 stars. Then I listened to another audiobook, which was Little Monsters by Cara Thomas. I'd seen so many people talking about this book on YouTube and other social media, but unfortunately I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. It was well written, but I just didn't connect with the story as much as I wanted to, so I only gave it 3 stars. Then I picked up the next book in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy, and that is P.S. I Still Love You. I finished reading this book in less than 24 hours. I just absolutely love these characters and I love the storyline, and I actually think I enjoyed this book more than the first one, so I gave it 5 stars. Then straight after that one I picked up Always and Forever Lara Jean, which is the 3rd book in the series, and again I absolutely loved this. I actually cried when I finished reading the last few pages of this story. It's just a brilliant trilogy. I highly recommend it and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I picked up was completely different to those ones, and it is The Haunting by Alex Bell. I decided to give this one a go because I absolutely loved Frozen Charlotte and Charlotte Says by Alex Bell, but I didn't enjoy this one as much as those. It just took me a while to get into it and I didn't enjoy the storyline as much as the others, so I gave this one 3 stars. Then I picked up another library book, and that is Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I absolutely love Colleen Hoover's writing. I'd only read one other book by her before this one, and that is It Ends With Us, and that's one of my favourite books of all time now. And the writing for this one is no different. It's just brilliant. I love the storyline and the characters. It's just a great story, and I gave it 5 stars. Then the next book was another reread for my Foyles YA book club, and that is One of Us Is Lying. I actually really enjoyed reading this story again a second time round because I took in a lot more and I was able to look at little hints and clues because I'd already read the story before, so I knew what the ending was. It was just a really good read. I highly recommend it and I gave it 4 stars. As we neared the end of November, I decided to pick up another Christmas book, and that is One Christmas Kiss in Notting Hill. This book was just a nice cosy Christmas read. I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 stars. Next I picked up It Only Happens in the Movies by Holly Bourne. I adored this book. It was just so realistic and portrayed something that could definitely happen in a young relationship. It just smacks all of those stereotypical YA romance books in the face with how brilliant it is and how realistic it is, and I gave this 5 stars. The next book I read was Wonder, and I read this one so quickly because I had booked tickets to go and see the film at the cinema and I wanted to read the book before I saw the film. I'm happy to report that I loved both the book and the film. Obviously the book was better because I always prefer the book, but I gave it 5 stars. The next book I read was Tanya's Christmas. I thoroughly enjoyed reading through this book. It's got stories of Tanya's Christmases when she was a young child, it's got recipes, it's got DIY things in here as well. I haven't tried any of the recipes yet, but I definitely will do next Christmas, but I highly recommend this book. I gave it 5 stars. Next I read Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. Unfortunately this was another book that I didn't enjoy as much as I wanted to. It took me quite a while to get into it. I really liked the writing style though. I'll definitely be picking up more books by Leigh Bardugo in the future, but this one I only gave 3 stars. Then I started my Christmas book reading binge, and the first one I read was Every Time a Bell Rings by Carmel Harrington. This book had a really interesting storyline. It dealt with fostering and adoption, and it's not the sort of thing that I would usually pick up, but I did quite enjoy this one, and I gave it a 3-star rating on Goodreads, but it's probably more of a 3.5. Then I decided to reread one of my favourite Christmas books, and that is The 12 Days of Dash and Lily. I first read this book back in December 2016, and I gave it 4 stars then, but after rereading it, and it is quite a short book, so I did read it quite quickly, I actually loved it even more the second time around, so I upped my rating to 5 stars. The next Christmas book that I picked up was Christmas at the Little Wedding Shop. This book is good, but it's not one of my favourites. There just seemed to be a lot going on, although I did like that it was based around a wedding, and I gave this one 3 stars. Next I read Christmas at Lilac Cottage by Holly Martin. This book is now up there as one of my favourite Christmas books of all time. I absolutely adored this. I loved the characters of Penny, Henry and Daisy, especially Henry. He was basically perfect. But I would highly recommend this book if you want a Christmas read for next year, and I gave it 5 stars. Then I read Angels at Christmas, which consisted of 2 short stories. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy this one. One story was slightly better than the other, but I just didn't enjoy this as much as I wanted to, although I did like the writing, so I would like to read more by this author, but I gave this 2 stars. The final Christmas novel that I read in December was Last Christmas by Julia Williams. I really wanted to enjoy this book because I thought the storyline sounded really interesting, but unfortunately this was another book that just wasn't for me, so I only gave this one 2 stars. If you watched last week's video where I showed you some of the things that I got for Christmas, then you may have already seen this. This is New York Christmas. In this book, some people share their stories of how magical New York is around Christmas time, and it also contains a lot of recipes. Again, I haven't tried any of the recipes in this book yet, but I definitely will do, but I gave this book 4 stars. The final book that I read in 2017 is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I'd been meaning to pick up another fantasy book for so long because of how much I love the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I was so happy to receive this one before the publication date so I could read it early and review it. I'll leave a link in the description box below for you if you want to go and read my full spoiler-free review of this, but know that I absolutely loved it and I gave it 5 stars. So in 2017 I managed to read 150 books, which I was really happy with considering my target at the beginning of the year was 50 books, and when I managed to smash that really early on in the year I raised it to 100 and I still managed to read 150. I do have another video coming for you really soon where I will be sharing my favourite reads of 2017. The final thing I just want to quickly talk to you about before I end this video is about how my wrap-ups are going to be changing. As you may know, I only put out my wrap-ups every 3 months rather than every month because I only get the chance to film one video a week for you. I don't want to do one every single month because it will get really repetitive and you won't get as many other videos. But I'm also finding when I start talking about a book that I read 3 months ago, I sometimes don't remember everything that I thought about it, and if I haven't written it down then I don't have as much to talk to you about. So I'm not sure how these wrap-ups are going to be working in the future. Who knows, I might end up keeping it exactly the same and I just need to be better at taking notes on the books that I've read. But I do know that I'm not going to be doing them every single month, so I'm going to be having a little think about how this is going to work. If you have any suggestions for how you would like to see my wrap-ups being done, then please leave a comment down below, or you can contact me on Twitter and Instagram. All of my handles are in the description box. So that's all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. Bye!